Good morning, North Penn School District Strong Start parents. I'm not sure if some of you were in the previous session, but we're going to go through our kindergarten Strong Start program this morning. To introduce myself, I'm Bob Gilmer, Coordinator of Communications Media for the North Penn School District. So we're going to have about a 40-minute presentation or so, 40-minute presentation here. We're going to take some questions at the end. I'll point everybody to the bottom of their screen. There's a Q&A button where you can ask your questions there. I always ask this, though, if you would just wait till we're done the presentation, because many times, most of the questions that are asked, we ask throughout the course of the presentation. I also ask that if there's a particular question about your student, your family, personal issues or personal questions that have to deal with your student, to contact the school for that. Here, we're going to ask or answer general questions about our Kindergarten Strong Start program. So that being said, I'm looking at our attendees. We seem to have topped out. We want to get started. We apologize for being a little bit late. The previous session went a little bit long because we want to get as many questions answered as possible. So looks like we're ready. Dr. Bauer, I'd like to introduce you, our superintendent of the North Penn School District. Dr. Bauer, kick us off for the class of 2037.
Good morning. Thank you, Bob. Thanks so much for that. As Bob shared, my name's Todd Bauer. I'm the superintendent here in the North Penn School District, and we are excited to be with you this morning to discuss what is really a monumental occasion for your family and specifically for your child. We have a wonderful group of professionals here this morning to give you so much information. Let me tell you before we start, relax. It's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Your child is going to be fine. I do think sometimes you give a lot of information to folks and it's overwhelming. It feels like, oh my gosh, how am I going to figure this out? Understand that we will give you plenty of information over the next few weeks in advance of the first day. But this is just kind of the Cliff Notes version of what you can expect in kindergarten. And I do want to reiterate what Bob shared. Please hold off on your questions because we will answer many of them throughout the presentation. And then just the list of questions gets inordinately long, and it's difficult for us to sift through them with a bunch of questions we've already answered throughout the presentation. So please wait on the questions in the Q&A feature. And I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Mike McKenna. Mike oversees all of our elementary schools, special education, and essentially all things elementary in general. So we'll turn it over to Mike, and he will introduce our panelists. And again, hold on to your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Bauer. If you were on our previous session, most of our panel is the same, although there's one change, which I'll highlight. So on our panel, we have Dr. Pamela Hart, our Director of Curriculum and Equity, Mr. John Winkle, our Principal of Oak Park Elementary, Marisa Neeson, our Early Learning Coordinator, Carolyn Leak, Kindergarten Teacher at Kulp Elementary, and a new member of our panel who was not on the previous session is Nancy Hahn, who's a Kindergarten Teacher at Montgomery Elementary. We're excited to have everyone join us for the second session here to really focus on our Strong Start to Kindergarten. Bob, can you pull up? There you go. He's always ready to go. Thanks, Bob. And our objectives for today, really, and I'll just give a quick rationale and background. We've been talking about kindergarten since we implemented full day kindergarten and how we can continue to improve our kindergarten program here in North Penn. When you have almost 1,000 students coming in each year to kindergarten, you learn a lot, and we realize, and every year we look at how can we improve? How can we make things even better than they were the previous year? Marisa Neeson leads a team of kindergarten teachers called our Kindergarten Think Tank, where we have monthly meetings where we talk all things kindergarten, right? What's going well? What are some things that we can change or improve upon? And many of our conversations come back to not only the increasing needs of children and what can we do to best support our students who enter our schools each day, but as a former elementary principal, I can say the importance of classroom placement for students is critically important to ensure they have a successful school year. And as you can imagine, when children enter kindergarten, we don't have a plethora of information, right? We have a little bit of their KAP information, maybe some information from the registration process, But sometimes it's not like we're going in without any information, but we just have minimal information to place students. Whereas in grades 1st through 6th, we know those students unless they're brand new to us, but we know we have more information on them, and we can place them a little bit more effectively. Many school systems, districts, including one that I previously worked in, have been using things like this Strong Start to Kindergarten to ensure that they have more information to better place students with the appropriate teacher and with the appropriate cohort of students for the next 180 days of their kindergarten year to make it as successful as possible. So through many of our conversations, we learned about some different options for the start of kindergarten and how can we better learn about and know about our students who are entering our classrooms. And through multiple conversations and going through our kindergarten think tank, which is how the idea of Strong Start really initiated and came about. And then we've also had various and numerous planning sessions as we prepare for the start of the 24-25 school year. So in general, we have 5 schools that are utilizing the Strong Start to Kindergarten. And I said these on the last session, and I'll review them again. Those schools are Gwynedd Square Elementary, Montgomery Elementary, Knapp Elementary, Kulp Elementary, and Oak Park Elementary are the 5 Strong Start to Kindergarten schools. And we're very excited, and the teachers are also very excited to implement that, the Strong Start this year. So this session is really going to talk about what that's going to look like and entail. And of course, we'll be able to answer some questions about that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Marisa, who has the next slide.
Hi, everyone. If you're joining us again, welcome back. So you did hear this morning in our kindergarten information session about kindergarten orientation. So our Strong Start schools, that remains the same in that Wednesday, August 28th, at your assigned time is when your kindergartner and 2 responsible adults will be invited to their elementary school. The only difference in our Strong Start schools is you and your kindergartner will have the opportunity to meet the entire kindergarten team, which is actually an incredibly exciting opportunity. You will sort of experience what it will be like to rotate through the kindergarten teachers just on a little bit of a shorter time frame. So your invitation will let you know your child's home base teacher, because that's where you'll begin orientation. And then after your home base teacher shares some information, you'll rotate through the rest of the team, learning all of the important information that you'll need to know to be successful in kindergarten. So please still plan for kindergarten orientation on Wednesday, August 28th at that assigned time, which, as John Winkle mentioned in our previous presentation, that invitation will be coming very soon from your building. The only difference is you get the fortunate opportunity to meet the entire kindergarten team during our Strong Start. And then the first day of school for our Strong Start kindergartners remains Thursday, August 29th, just like everybody else.
All right, so we have kindergartners coming in, and I know as a parent, you're probably thinking, okay, where is my child supposed to go? If you're doing Strong Start and we're not giving them a homeroom teacher, where are the kids supposed to go? Well, the good news is they are going to be assigned a home-based classroom where they are going to report to, and that is going to be where they start their day, and that's going to be the teacher that gets them started for that day of school. This information will be available to you later in August. It's not available now. It won't be available next week. It'll be available later in August. As Dr. McKenna said, probably the week of the 19th, somewhere in there. You can get this on Infinite Campus, but I know as a parent, especially if you're a brand new parent, and you're like, what in the heck is Infinite Campus? I have no clue what he's talking about. If you get lost, confused, you can simply call the school, because I can, with a couple keystrokes, I can tell you who your child's home-based teacher will be. So if you get lost, get confused, you can always call the school and we can help you out.
All right, so our Strong Start to Kindergarten synopsis, that runs through the 8/29 to 9/6. So that is Thursday, August the 29th through Friday, September the 6th. And as Mr. Winkle said, the kids will report each of those days to their home base each morning. And then from that, they will get a chance to connect with all of the kindergarten teachers. So they will be rotating and meet each of the teachers at each of the Strong Start buildings. They will also be interacting with all the other students, and it should be tons of fun. On the 6th, that last day, which I will talk about later, that will be a fun Friday for the students. But during that time, the teams, the Strong Start teams of the teachers and the specialists will gather information all together to guide the classroom placement. And then on the 9th of September, which is the following week, Monday, the 9th, the students will join their newly assigned kindergarten classroom. That's the information that will come out to you on the evening of the 6th. And that is where they will then report and be with that group of students for the remainder of the school year.
So each child, like Mr. Winkle was talking about, will be assigned to a home-based teacher for those first 5 days. So this isn't necessarily going to be their teacher once those 5 days are over, but this is the person that you are going to be contacting how your child is getting to and from school. If you have any specific questions, any concerns, any change in plans, you're going to connect with the home-based teacher to start. Each day, the students will come in, they will start in their home-based classroom. They will hang up their school bag, and then they will enjoy exploration stations in that space. They'll go to lunch, and they'll go to their special area classes with that group. They will also dismiss at the end of the day from that home-based teacher. This information will be available to you in Infinite Campus in August.
So you may be wondering, you'll be meeting a lot of students in a fairly short period of time. How will we really get a good sense of who the children are as you start thinking about the ways in which to create the kindergarten classes? And as Mrs. Hahn shared, there's a team of folks in each of the buildings that will be taking on that role. So you can see the list here: kindergarten teachers, reading specialists, special education teachers, our kindergarten assistants, special area teachers. So that's our art, gym, music, and library teachers, and our English language development teachers, as well as guidance counselors. So all of those staff members will play an important role in the experiences that your children will engage in for the first few days of school. And then once they've had an opportunity to rotate through classrooms, meet with different teachers and different students, and we've lots of different people getting their eyes on children, will come together on that Friday afternoon to be able to create classes. So lots of different people from different vantage points, I think, will really be instrumental in making sure that your child's needs are met once we formally assign kindergarten classrooms.
So if you were someone who received our SMORE newsletter that let you know all of the amazing things about our Strong Start to Kindergarten, you have had the opportunity to look at this sample personalized student schedule. In the families that have reached out to me to just share their enthusiasm around this Strong Start, I have had the opportunity to be able to walk some families through this. So we're going to take just a moment and do that to make sure that it's clear in your head exactly what your child will be doing. First and foremost, please note that the amazing Strong Start team that I have had the privilege to work with this summer has been unbelievably intentional in making the absolute best decisions for the way this program is going to be. We are just beyond excited about the lesson plans we have for your children and just the opportunities that they are going to have to not only interact and get to know all of our incredible kindergarten teachers, but also have the opportunity to interact with additional peers in their kindergarten classrooms. This sample that you're looking at would be a sample for a child who was assigned red and a square. So the way we sort of designed it is that children will be part of two groups. On that orientation day, your child will come with up to 2 responsible adults and have the opportunity to meet our entire incredible kindergarten team. The next day, which is their first day of school, they will arrive to the red group. Let's just say they're assigned to teacher A as their home-based teacher. Every peer in that classroom will be part of the red group. You will notice that they will spend their entire morning with that red group. That first day of school where they might be the most anxious, they're going to spend their entire morning with that same group. If you sort of just scan the rest of the schedule, you're also going to notice that they arrive and dismiss every day with that same teacher and that same group. They are critically important parts of our day when it comes to safety for your children, so we wanted to make that as comfortable as possible. Back to the 29th, that afternoon, the red group goes all together. So the same group of friends now gets to spend the afternoon with our incredible teacher B. The following morning, they come back to their home base, and then they'll spend their morning with another teacher on that team. After they've rotated through the team, spending their entire morning or their entire afternoon, intentionally keeping our rotations to a minimum, they are then going to rotate with their second group, which for this particular student is a square. You may be wondering why we're doing that. Because research tells us that in order for this to be as successful as possible, we also want to make sure we're intermingling peers with each other. So while your child spent their first 2 days with the entire red group, they are now going to have the opportunity to meet all of the friends that are in the squares with them. Again, keeping in mind that the rotations for them are really minimal. They're spending their entire morning with a group and then their entire afternoon with a group. Leading us up to Friday, where they will be with their home base for our Fun Friday, which you're going to hear a little bit about in a moment. The only other thing that I want to share with you regarding this personalized schedule is part of our planning this summer was making sure that we had very thorough lists so everyone knows who's in the red group, who's in the blue group, and so on. And your children are also going to be given incredible name tags to make sure if they were to forget and they say, I forget if I'm red or blue, no worries. We have that right on their name tag. So anyone who were to interact with them would know exactly where that child were to be. All teachers will be doing the same very carefully planned lessons, which are really engaging with our students on what it looks like to be in kindergarten. So really fun name activities, a lot learning about what it looks like to do a movement break, and all of those important things that happen in those first days of kindergarten will be happening in each of these classrooms as your children have the opportunity to not only engage with our incredible teaching team, but also get to meet all of the peers in kindergarten.
And Fun Friday is simply that. It's going to be fun for all of the students. On that Friday, they will still follow that initial schedule and report to home base. And during this time, they will engage more in the exploration stations, morning meeting. They will be doing all of the fun kindergarten activities, movement breaks. They will have a lot of opportunity to play, hopefully weather cooperating. There will be some outdoor recess time as well. At this time, they will be creating a special name tag. And while this is happening with the students in the classrooms, all of the teachers and the entire team will be spending that day meeting and finalizing all of the homeroom placements that will be in place for the remainder of the year. And then at that point, that's when the information will be sent out to all of the families who their kindergarten teacher will be for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year.
One of the things we need your help with at home is our snack. children will not be eating snack in their home base setting. So they're going to be transporting their snack to whatever classroom they will be in during that time period. So please, please, please label your child's snack with their name so they can take it with them to whatever room they're assigned to at that point, and we can get it back to the right person easily. We only need to do this for actually the first 4 days, because on that 5th day, they will be in their home base. So those first 4 days of school, please write your child's name on their snacks.
As I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, we are always looking to evaluate our practices and continuously improve what we're doing here in North Penn. So one of the pieces of this Strong Start will be gathering your feedback and getting your thoughts with probably a Google form or a survey in regards to your feedback on how Strong Start went for you as a parent or guardian, and also for your child as well. We will also gather feedback from our Strong Start teachers across our 5 buildings. Just that feedback from various stakeholders will be really important as we plan if we need to change, make some modifications moving forward. So please look for a survey and a ability to provide feedback at the conclusion of Strong Start. So we would definitely will be sending that out along with additional information. So again, thank you very much for proactively thanking you for your feedback, because it will help us plan ahead moving forward for future school years.
All right, thanks, Dr. McKenna. We talked about it off the top. Some folks would have gotten in here late. So this is new for North Penn this year. That's why it's a pilot at the 6 schools or 5 schools that we're talking about here: Gwynedd Square, Montgomery, Kulp, Oak Park, and Knapp. If you're a parent at another school for your kindergarten student, this doesn't apply to you for this year. So I just wanted to review, because there's a lot of questions, because this is new and it feels a little hazy for some parents. So we're going to kindergarten. And if we could talk about our philosophy of why we're piloting this again this year. And then Marisa, if you could talk about, once Mike's finishes up, about the differences between what we normally do in placement and then what this is, and the advantages of why we're doing this. So Mike, just overall, and then Marisa, if you can get into the nuts and bolts of our normal placement.
Hold on, Bob. I was responding to a comment. So just repeat that real quick for
Sure.
us.
No, just the overall philosophy of the Strong Start program.
Absolutely.
Why we're piloting it at these schools this year.
Absolutely. So one of the things throughout many of our various conversations has been the importance, again, of classroom placement. I mean, the placement with the child's teacher, along with the group of students in that class, to ensure really an effective school year, is of utmost importance. And part of that process also, there's additional benefits. One, spending some time with every kindergarten teacher really makes that a collaborative effort where everyone knows the children in kindergarten, and everyone can be a team to support all the children who are part of the kindergarten program. For us, as I mentioned earlier, kindergarten students come in with, I'd say, minimal amount of information to best place them. Definitely less than we have for other grades, to ensure that we have that great match for the teacher along with the cohort of students within that classroom. So getting to know them. And also, one of the other pieces we discuss is those first couple days of kindergarten look the same no matter what teacher they have, right? We're talking about expectations of the school. We go through our, how we be respectful, responsible, and safe across our various settings within each of our buildings. That looks the same everywhere. So we're, kids, getting acclimated to the building, kind of learning the school, learning what school is like. And those first couple of days, it looks the same. So for us, it's a really way to ensure we have consistent lessons and activities for all of the kids, while getting to know them and all the students, to then make that best decision to place them for the next 175 days of the year with that best teacher match, along with the cohort of students that makes sense and is most appropriate for that child.
Gotcha. Marisa, if you just talk about how we did this before, right? Or not before, we do it for the other schools. So the differences between the two, and what these 4 or 5 days, why it's different.
Yeah, so great question. We always make every decision with children at the forefront of our minds, right? Like we are in the kid business, as I like to say. So Mike sort of referenced this, but kindergarten is unique in that it's your first time coming into school. And so first grade and beyond, we've sort of already known you as a learner. We've seen what works well for you. Kindergarten is a unique situation. We have historically used our kindergarten activity portfolio, or KAP, which most of our children do participate in, and we sort of use that to guide us. But that's just a little bit of a snippet. And so that historically, Bob, is what we've done. This we feel like will give us just a much richer, stronger picture, not only looking at a child in isolation, but a child interacting with peers in an actual classroom setting, and really just looking at where is the absolute best place for that child to thrive, reach their fullest potential, and be as successful as they can be.
Excellent. And I think, and we'll go to Pam here in a second, I think that was, for some folks, I think it's an entirely different program for the rest of kindergarten. It really is about where we place them for the best meeting the needs of those kids. Pam, if you want to fill in there a little bit there too.
No, I think you said kind of what I was going to say. One is our goal is to still continue to create heterogeneous classes. So it's not as though we put all students with a particular profile in one class and a different profile in different classes. I think the other thing to keep in mind, and it's been a big part of the conversations we've had over the past couple of months, is we do get some information about students in June. We recognize that particularly 5 and 6-year-olds grow and evolve over the summer. And so sometimes we make decisions on who students were in June, and they're actually really different kids in August or in September, and we want to be able to recognize that. We also recognize that we have some families, like those of you on this call, who have registered and it's all, not even August yet. We have lots of families that move into North Penn right before the school year begins, and we don't always have all the information. And so we, in some situations, make decisions with less information. And sometimes school begins and we say, you know what, if I would have known that, I would have done something a little bit differently. And so our intent this year is to be as informed and as intentional as possible with students, all of the kindergarten students, how they are this moment in time to make really informed decisions. We've seen it work really well, as Dr. McKenna said, in one of the school districts that he worked in. We've been consulting with staff members, administrators in other school districts who have also used this as a way to which to begin kindergarten. The feedback from parents and staff members overwhelmingly, well over 95% have said, wish we had done this sooner. So you're taking some tangible data, some qualitative data, because I know a couple of questions around, like, where does this come from? And are you just kind of going this into seeing how it works? We definitely have really spent some time working and looking at schools where this has been very successful and learn from them as well. So we're all really excited about the possibility.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And Marisa, I think, I'm not sure, Carolyn and Nancy, if you were all in the same committee this summer or part of that. So I don't want to, throw things at you that you weren't a part of, but I believe you were. Just talk about, the teachers' excitement. And I know there's some questions about worrying about too many different faces in a day that first week, and if it's unsettling for a kid. What are some of the things you've talked about as kindergarten teachers for this week, this 4 days, of what that looks like? And for parents that are concerned about that, what would you say as far as too many faces, too many people? I don't know who to talk to.
I was hoping you were going to ask that question out loud, because this is my experience. I have been working with young children for a really long time. And the honest truth is, we tend to get more overwhelmed than they do. They are unbelievably flexible. They are unbelievably resilient. They typically come to kindergarten incredibly enthusiastic. However, the team and I, and yes, Nancy and Carolyn were on that team, in addition to all of the Strong Start teachers, are super excited about this opportunity. And we have been unbelievably thoughtful and intentional with all decisions made to be sure we're taking into account anyone who may feel overwhelmed. We really tried to minimize the number of rotations. So in reality, instead of seeing one teacher in a day, you'll see two. There's a lot of strength and benefit in knowing an entire kindergarten team, just based on the fact that educators are incredibly collaborative, right? And for your child to know multiple teachers on a team just leads to greater success. So I would just ask that please speak positively about this to your child. If you are noticing maybe your child is a little bit overwhelmed, please communicate that with us. We want to be very responsive to that. We want to make sure that every child is having, in fact, a strong start to kindergarten.
It's awesome. And then Carolyn, or Nancy, I see Carolyn was about to start there. Just you're doing this. Tell me what you're excited about.
Yeah. So I think honestly, safety is a big issue that we talk about, and this actually creates a really great sense of safety throughout the whole year. The children will know all of those teachers, and they will feel comfortable coming up and talking to them with any kind of issues that may arise. So if your teacher is absent that day, another teacher on the team knows your child and can support them as needed and can offer a substitute teacher any tips that they might need. This really will benefit the children throughout the whole year, and I think be a really positive experience.
Excellent. Nancy, anything to add?
And yes, just to add, along with just getting to know each of the teachers on the team, when they rotate with the different students, a lot of times throughout a year, the kids become very centralized in knowing their one classroom of 20 plus students. Whereas now they are rotating. They're not only seeing kids that maybe they saw in summer camp or knew from preschool, they are meeting a bunch of other children so that when they engage in the whole group activities, if they go out at recess, they're not just playing with their small group. They are going to recognize other faces and build those friendships.
Thank you so much. So communication leading up to the kindergarten orientation day and during that first week, what types of communications would parents expect and who would they be getting those from? I'll give it to Marisa.
Mike, you want me to take it, or I saw you on mute?
Go ahead and I'll add in, but yeah.
Yeah, so Bob, great question. Similar communication going to all of our kindergarten families, right? We try to be very, very thoughtful with, for many families, this may be their child's first time entering kindergarten. Even if it's not, it is your kindergartner's first time. So we are very thoughtful and intentional with the information we are sending. So you can expect to receive exactly what everybody is receiving. The only difference in our Strong Start schools is rather than a homeroom teacher, your initial assignment is a home base. The additional communication will come on that September 6th date after your child has thoroughly enjoyed an amazing fun Friday. You can expect a communication after 4 o'clock on that day, telling you now who your child's homeroom teacher is, which just means on Monday morning, instead of home base, they're going to their homeroom. Having already known all of the teachers and made quadruple the amount of friends, it should remain very exciting. Communication will continue all throughout. That really is the only thing that I think would be an addition to.
Excellent. And of course, during that time, if you have questions, you can reach out to your home-based teacher. And if you're confused or anything else, always can call the front office at your school. But you will have your home-based teacher, so that'll be your primary contact until you get your homeroom teacher when that happens on the 5th day, right? So there's just a lot of questions about placement. So this is new, and I think we've reviewed that pretty well about what we're doing there. So that's the bulk of the questions here. I don't know in this group if everybody attended the first session that we had at 9 o'clock. There's many questions just about kindergarten in general. What does lunch look like? What's a day look like? All of those types of things are in the first session. We will be posting that to the kindergarten information page that's on npen.org. I do have all of your email addresses here, so I'll go ahead and send that presentation link to you if you happen to miss the 9 o'clock hour on the kindergarten orientation, because we have a bunch of general kindergarten questions that are coming through here as well. Panelists, looking at the questions, is there anything else we want to hit that would answer Strong Start specific questions, or anything else we want to hit here on this presentation while we're here? Go ahead, Jonathan.
One of the things I just see echoed and I wanted to just address real quick is that in all buildings, all 13 schools, the kindergarten teams work in unison. So, for example, at the non-Strong Start schools, kindergarten teachers get to know all the kindergartners. So it's not a new concept where all the kindergartners are known by all the kindergarten teachers. Kindergarten is a team effort. So the only difference here is that your child is having a chance to experience all the different teachers within that first week of school. However, I can guarantee you that Nancy, prior to Strong Start, she knew all the kindergartners in the neighboring classrooms because they work together. When they're at recess, they're interacting with all the kids. When they go to lunch, they're interacting with all the kids. So this is not completely new where the kindergarten teachers are getting to know all the kindergartners. It's something we've been doing for years. It's just more of a formalized process where we're allowing that opportunity for the first week for there to be this chance to explore all the different teachers.
Excellent.
I also saw a lot in there about relationships, and that's one of our absolute biggest goals. We want to see the children that should be in the same class together. That's not information we had before. But now that we're able to see the children interacting, we're able to put them together. Or the children who maybe kind of rub each other the wrong way and shouldn't be in the same class together. This is information we never had, and I think will be crucial to creating these amazing class lists. I know it's one of the big things we talk about when we're making classes for the first graders. So we're just trying to give them a more equitable class list start that we have for all of the other grades as well.
Bob, I did see a question over and over again. How can parents best prepare their children for this? And I think that's a great question. And honestly, I would echo what I said in this morning session. Speak positively to your child about the Strong Start to Kindergarten. Kind of get them excited about the fact that they're going to get to meet different groups of friends and all of the teachers and engage in these really fun activities. When they come home from school, ask them, hey, who did you meet in your red group today? Can you name a friend that you met in your red group? On that third day of school, say, guess what? Exciting news. You're going to get to meet friends from your square group today or your circle group today. The reality is you do set the stage and the tone for your child. So just let them know how exciting this opportunity is and they'll follow suit.
Excellent. That's where I was going. Dr. Bauer?
I was just actually, I had raised my hand while Carolyn was speaking because I was hoping someone would kind of say what she said. It is about there is a degree of this. It's about classroom dynamics. And just kids, and as a parent of a child who I am certain the principal said, you know what, Brady Bauer can't be with little Robert Gilmer. Like the two of them are oil and water, and it's just not a good dynamic between the two. I am sure there are kids in my son's elementary school that the principal's like, yeah, Brady just can't be with that kid. There is some of that, right? You want to create a balance in the classroom. You have strong personalities, quieter students who are inquisitive in this way, students who love to do that. And this gives our professional staff the ability to get to know the kids a little bit rather than looking at a paper and saying, oh, they did well on these skills and these skills and these skills. Let's put them in this group. Now you take that information and some of the social dynamics and things that you're witnessing the first 4 or 5 days of school to set up the classes to make sure all of our kids and staff have a great experience. It's definitely a more informed process. Quite frankly, when this was kind of pitched to me by some of the folks on this call, I was like, yeah, why haven't we done this all along? So really excited about the opportunity. We also did want to dip our toe in and not say, all right, let's do it at all 13 elementaries, right? Let's do it at a few, make sure we have a process that's outlined that can be consistent moving into full implementation, because that is the desired outcome here. Hopefully this is across the board next year. But we're starting with a few schools, a few teachers, groups of teachers and administrators who are like, yeah, sign us up. We want to do that. And that's where we are right now. So beautifully said by everyone. I just wanted to use my own son as an example. Now, my daughter, on the other hand, I'm sure she could be with anyone. But my son's personality is just that sometimes he can be a little bit much, just like his father.
Nancy, go ahead.
I just wanted to add that, if as a parent, and you worry about your children going to school, especially to kindergarten for the first time, think about the child in general. I mean, at age 5 years old, they are inquisitive, they are excited, they can't wait to go to school. The night before, of course, they might be a little nervous and there might be tears, but that's across the board in any kindergarten situation. So really think about it this way, that this is your child's first experience with any program. So how you present it to them, it might be your worries or concerns, but I can assure you, there will be nothing to worry about. These kids are going to come into school excited. They're going to leave and come home And if your child is one to tell you every minute of the day, you're going to hear everything that happened. And they are going to be excited. They are, as we have said before, they're resilient. They know nothing else except this first experience. So it is going to be positive for them. And I'm, being a part of this committee for over 2 years now, I'm so excited for this, and I love that North Penn is going forward with this.
Excellent. Marisa, Pam, like I said, there's a lot of questions in here that are in our first presentation, so we don't want to go through 45 minutes of that. So I will be sending that link out to everybody that's on this webinar, so you have it, and it's also going to be posted on the kindergarten information page as soon as we are completed here today. Other pieces, if you're looking at the questions we want to hit before we wrap up today.
I think one of the questions I was actually typing in, but I think it'd be great just for everyone to hear is just, how do we think about the kind of the demographic composition of each class, right? It's each one of the demographic composition of each school is a little bit different, so it's hard to be able to say specific numbers of students. But I just want to sort of reiterate some of the points that have been made to date. We want kindergarten classrooms that reflect the diversity within each of the schools. And so we're going to have students who are strong readers walking in. We're going to have students who've never been to school before. We might have some students who receive some support. We want ethnically, we want for that to really, those classes to reflect the diversity as well. And so that's something we put a lot of time and effort into. I think one of the benefits of actually meeting students and kind of getting a sense of who they are is that we really know who we're placing in classes. As an elementary principal, which I was for 21 years, one of the biggest lessons I learned was we had an incoming kindergarten that I had never met, and her name was Susie Birnbaum. And so I had an image in my head of kind of who she was. And when she walked in, right, Korean American child, right? And so I would have made some decisions kind of based on what I thought she was or who she was when I was trying to kind of demographically kind of create classrooms. And so I think in a world where children have lots of identities and the idea of really and multiple identities, we want to make sure that we take consideration to all of them when we're placing them. And it takes a lot of time and effort, and that's why we need lots of information. But I know that the team is really committed to make sure that the experience is amazing and that students really do see themselves and feel connected to their teacher and to the other children in those classrooms as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. All right, we're up on the 11 o'clock hour here. We're going to be mindful of our parents' time, and I know there are lots of questions. We have the Q&A here, of which we'll go through here and see if we need to add any additional answers to that. And again, we'll be posting this information back on the website. If you're in the last session, we always say breathe. It's going to be okay. We're going to be providing information as we go along. To Dr. McKenna's point, please, 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 as we continue to ask for feedback, you can let us know how it looked from your side as a parent and the student coming home every day. I have to tell you this, is that kindergarten teachers are some of my favorite people in the whole world. I could not do what they do. They are amazing folks that welcome your kids as the whole school does, and your principals and the front office and our food service and our bus drivers. Every single one of us here are here to make sure your student has a good transition as starting North Penn. This is so important, our first steps into the North Penn School District, and we want it to be an amazing experience. And that's what every single one of us here are doing to work to do. So we'll continue to communicate. It comes, it's July 30th, right? So there's more information that'll be coming out as we get through the month of August and we head into that first day of school. So we ask you to wait for that stuff. But if you have questions, always, you can call the school and ask those questions. All righty. So Dr. McKenna, I think that's our 45 minutes here. Any final thoughts as we begin to wrap up?
No, and actually, Bob, the only thing I'm going to add is we will look at the Q&A that we didn't get to. And as we will do with the other session, there are a lot of questions we didn't get to. We'll send out a communication to all kindergarten families with some of those themes like Chromebooks and before and after care and some of the other questions. We'll also look at the Strong Start questions. If we didn't get to any specific questions today, we'll also look to send out a communication specific to Strong Start families as well, just to follow up and make sure all families have answers to any questions that they're wondering about. So look for that. That communication will be forthcoming as well. And Bob, just want to again reiterate, we are very excited to implement Strong Start in these 5 schools. We really want to thank everyone for joining us this morning, and please look for some additional communication as we move through the month of July.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you to the panel. Thanks for being with us this morning. Take care. Everybody stay safe. Can't wait for the class of 2037. 2037 coming in just a few weeks. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the last couple weeks of summer.